the labor. So enjoy the fruit of the labor, but don't make it be more important than Christ. Don't worship it. Don't adore it. Don't let it be that if you don't have it, you can worship. This is what Paul meant here when he says, if I live in the flesh, this is the fruit of my labor. Yet what I shall choose, I would. Yet his preference, in our preference, he cannot choose for himself. He don't have a choice. Even though he is the fruit of the labor, he don't have a choice. Because if God withhold it, what you can do. So this is why it's important that you don't choose between the fruit of the labor and Christ. The important thing is that Christ is at all times at the center. Christ should not be on the circumference, but he should be always be at the center. And if he's at the center, then he will be victorious. And this is why Paul said that he's in a strait betwixt two. He don't know what to do. He cannot choose for himself. And if we try to choose for ourselves, we're going to choose the wrong thing. Amen. This is why Paul said, I'm in a strait betwixt two. Having a desire to depart, to be with Christ, which is far better. It's far better to be with Christ. Nevertheless, to abide in the flesh is more needful for you. For your sake, Paul was saying that for our sake, it will be best that we stay in the flesh. Because while we stay in the flesh, you'll be able to direct somebody, you'll be able to teach somebody, you'll be able to encourage somebody, you'll be able to be an example to somebody. So it was needful for us that we have somebody in the flesh. Jesus couldn't stay here. Jesus could not stay among us continually. Because if he stayed among us continually, we wouldn't have that redemption hope. Amen. The Comforter would not have come if he had stayed with us all the time, because we wouldn't need the Comforter. If he was here on earth at all times with us, then all we will be doing is following Jesus, and we'll never do nothing for ourselves. So we had to go, but it was needful for somebody to be in the flesh to direct us. And the radical Christian is like this. 1 Corinthians 15:10. 1 Corinthians 15:10. But by the grace of God, I am what I am. And his grace, which was bestowed upon me, was not in vain. But I labored more abundantly than they all. Yet not I, but the grace of God which was with me. By the grace of God, I am what I am. This unmerited favor that God gives to us is what makes us into who we are. So it's not because I went to UTech or UWI or Howard University or New York State University or Harvard University or Cambridge University why I am where I am. It's by His grace. Amen. So we have nothing to show off on each other about. Because if the grace of God was not extended out to us, no matter which university you go to, you wouldn't achieve what you achieve. So it's not by any of us to boast and brag, because you have persons who have never been to a university, and yet still that person is a more successful business person than the person who go to university. You have persons who have never known how to read a building plan, but give that person a building, a house to build. That person will build that house from scratch to finish even better than some of those who read the plan. Because what? The grace of God. The grace of God extended it. So when we are radical Christian, we recognize that it's nothing that we do, but it's by the grace of God that I am what I am. And it's this grace which bestowed upon me and allowed me to labor so that I can bring forth. It's something that we did not deserve. If we go up to verse 9, we find on the list of the apostles that are not meet to be called an apostle, because I persecuted the church of God. You see, this is why the grace of God is so important to us. Because I'm not the grace of God which Paul, then Paul could not be among these people, because these people would run from Paul. Because Paul would have been having some sort want to kill them, because he was a persecutor of the church. But the grace of God, even though Paul was so learned, but yet still Paul had to come down to an unlearned man, to a man who was lesser than him, to teach him. Because Ananias was less than Paul. Paul was the most educated in the land. And he had to come down to a lower man. Jesus looked at him and said, go down to the street called Straight, and you will see a man there. He will tell you what to do. So you see, the education wasn't so important when it comes to salvation. It's the grace of God. The grace of God that is bestowed upon us, that will give us and let us be who we are. So even though Paul was so educated, he classed himself as the least of the apostle, because he was not deserving. It was not a deserved office. Because if it was by man, nobody would have given it to him. Nobody would have placed apostleship upon Paul because of who he was. It's just like some of us, you know. It's just like some of us. Some of us would never dream that you would be able to sit in King's house, because we are not qualified. But the grace of God allows us to sit in King's palace and allow kings to bow to us because of the grace of God. And it's not because we go to the best university, but because the grace of God is bestowed upon us. So this is why we have to understand our role, understand our purpose, understand what you are called for, and don't be dragged down to the other person's level and dilute the gospel of Jesus Christ. Stand up, because it's an high calling. It's a very high calling that we are called to. Kings and